We'll just wait for some folks to join. So,
We've picked up Desmond. He needs to leave. There he is.
how many we have so far?
I don't know if people know how to join.
Oh, okay. I guess then Tanya will work that out. I guess she can assign them. We'll wait for another 5 minutes for folks to join and then we'll move on.
Here we go.
Ten.
Oh, here's Will. Hi, Will.
Oh, it is
Another help,
Ramirez.
buddy.
Hi.
Just give. Hello.
We'll wait for a few more minutes for folks to figure out how to join the room.
This might be it.
Have you yet? Okay, I'll just open up my notes and then we shall start. Um, okay. Okay, so thank you for joining us in this session as we discuss how art and creativity can foster a sense of community, civic engagement, and political organizing. One of our activities that Jack has created is called Our Community Through Our Lens. Our Community Through Our Lens is a start to finish program that's designed like a mini course, offering a comprehensive learning experience. It's a photo essay project which prompts youth in developing a sense of belonging and attachment to their communities. Working in groups with youth will explore the communities, take photos, and create a themed photo essay. Now I'll just introduce the speakers and then we will move on to the questions and the discussions. So first of all, um, Will Ramirez is a Latin American artist who expresses his creative side in many ways, including poetry, rap, and a variety of Latin American genres. Well, Ramirez is inspired by music and poetry from around the world and could never pick just one favorite. Um, where Ramirez is wanting to inspire people to love and care for other, to connect and make the world a better place. Where Ramirez was born in Colombia and moved to Canada with his family 20 years ago. Today, Will Ramirez calls Kitchener home. He uses art as a way to highlight various issues. In this video that I'll be sharing, he's performing his piece entitled The Vigil for Homeless at the Vigil Sang Park Homeless Memorial Park, where his video and music shows us how art can be used in many different ways under many different circumstances as a way to call attention to particular issues. So I'll be sharing my screen. Hopefully, let me know if you guys can hear the video once I play. All right.
Your big support. I lost a lot of
Can everyone hear the video, the audio? Okay, perfect.
street mamas, street papas, street sisters, street brothers. So I'm out here. We miss you all, and they are with us in spirit. So we are with them too, and we miss them a lot. So let's love each other, shelter each other, and love one another. So I shall be with you in a couple of minutes once we get the music rolling on, because that's what they would have liked. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Do you want me to hold the microphone?
Can we crank it up? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yo voy. Yeah, yo voy without the reading glasses. I gotta need those. Those. What happened? Okay. Yo. Yeah. That's it, homie. Oh shit. All right, it's going. Yo. Okay, it's time. All right, so I'll just recite it. Yeah, people say hi, people say bye. Under the storm, nowhere to sleep, nowhere to hide. Under the storm, what you got, what I don't. Under the storm, what you didn't do for me, what you didn't do for them tonight. Under the storm, I got no candlelight tonight, but I got the stars and the moonlight. Under the storm, I got a bag of chips and a 2-liter pop that I can share with you tonight. Under the storm, you smile at me tonight. Where is the others? I pray to God they're all right. Under the storm, I got a couple of cigarettes and a titties that I can share with you tonight. Under the storm, I'm just washing my hands. Please don't call police, all right? Under the storm, you put away your umbrella, hang your coat, turn off the light. Under the storm, the rain washes my tears away, cause I didn't see you tonight anyway. Under the storm, for my people, for my mothers, for my brothers, for my sisters, for my street people, rest in peace. We love them all, y'all. We love them all, y'all. We love them all, y'all. Here goes, yo. Shelter me when I'm young, when I'm old. Shelter me when I'm hungry and cold. Shelter me below the stars. Shelter me below the sun. Shelter me beneath the stars. Shelter me with the hug. Shelter me with the gentle smile and gentle conversation. Shelter me when I'm strong or weak. In my triumphs, in my affliction, shelter me with no stigmas of conviction. Shelter me with a long-lasting smile, and we can all call it home. Love one another, shelter each other. Yeah, we gotta show love. We gotta show hugs. We gotta break bread. Yeah, for K-Town people and all the ones we miss and all the ones we love. Thank you for all the support. Yeah, all the people are here. All the soldiers are here. Yeah, hit it up. I got a homework from the hood that he kick it like he would, like he should, like he could. Wreck him up. Life is like an obstacle to uncertain. I mean, lurking in the darkness on corner where girls are working. Earn it. Bringing sickness where it's burning. Distribution. No, salt solution. I've seen victims left with one solution. Selling sex, fake confusion, gotta reproduce. I mean, deprived of connection, depression, got dealt with. Homes and institutions. Well, they tear down our housing units. Look around, I ain't got a prove it. Rich people getting caught, but they still. I'm embarrassed that St. John's trying to cop me a meal. I do a month for a brief, so Paris Hilton's copping a kill. Tell them. Hay un lugar oscuro en el corazón de la ciudad donde nadie va. Gente en el barrio no lo admite. Ellos no quieren saber. Niños en las aceras se miran triste. Gente allá afuera sin nada que perder. Pues llora humano desde el campo de batalla. Yo, now there's a dark place in the city where no one goes. The children on the sidewalk looking so sad. The people out there with a whole lot of attitude. The wrecking ball for the barrio. Yeah. Porque llegó la hora del vacilón, que los quiero a todos en el salón, yo. Now here she comes again, and here I go, I'm trying to resist, but she knows my weakness. She got an eye to the crack, she acts like she don't know. I'll be stepping in my thoughts and my concentration. My baby, she's gone tonight, as I tell you all. Other people.
Well, that was very, very, very inspiring. Amazing. Do you want to share anything? Well,
Um, this poetry that I write is emphasizing on many of the situations that us immigrants live and many people from Canada live. We all suffer under the same sun, and I'm just saying that we are permanent residents. I like to recite the poem "Permanent Resident" if I can, if I have time,
yeah, go
and I
ahead.
have, and we're all together in this, and okay. So this poem is called Permanent Resident. I am permanent of your sunshine and your stars. I am resident of you and your people. I am permanent resident of your struggles and your wars. I am permanent resident of your homeland and you of mine. I hear your voice and you hear mine. I'm permanent resident of your song, resident of your tears, permanent resident in your mind, resident of your hood, permanent resident in your past, in your future, permanent resident. I am with you, you are with me. Between the hunger and the cold, permanent resident of your change and mine. Between a rock and a hard place, permanent resident. And if the world is tired, together we carry on. In this permanent battlefield, I am your resident, permanent resident. Peace and love for all my people. Thank you.
That was amazing. That's amazing. I just had a question, like what inspired you to what sparked what sparked you to
Uh,
write it?
what sparked is well, when I first came, I didn't speak English too much, right? And people were telling me, "Oh, you got to make a crossover in English and this and that." But people accepted me in my language, right?
Yeah.
And then I slowly started making the crossover, and I seen that we are all residents since childhood,
Mm.
since since school. We played together, we shared bread together, we played games together. So what inspired me in this poem is that we are permanent with each other, that we are always smiling at each other, and we're always trying to help each other in a lot of ways. So man, that's what I'm emphasizing on, that we are together in this.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
sharing
much.
that. Thank you,
Thank
Noah.
you, everybody.
Very inspirational. Um, I'm going to introduce our other speakers, and then, of course, at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So everyone in the chat room will have an opportunity to ask questions, and we can have further discussions. So just give me a second. So our next speaker is L. Jones, author, poet, journalist, educator, and advocate. Dr. L. Jones is all of these things and more, an outspoken activist, thinker, writer who strengths converge in her spoken word performances. A respected poet, Dr. Jones was two-time National Slam champion in 2007 and 2008, Poet Laureate of Halifax in 2023, 2013 and 2015, resident of International Writing Program at University of Ohio, Iowa in 2015, and poet and resident at University of Toronto, Scarborough in 2021. What defines her achievement is a commitment to activism and community advocacy to highlight inequities and redresses in injustices. The recognition of her performance, teaching, and political commitment testifies to her exceptional influence she has exercised during the Black Lives Matter movement and the expansion of Black scholarship in Canadian academia. Currently an assistant professor in Department of Political and Canadian Studies at Mount Saint Vincent University. Dr. Jones has taught at Dalhousie University, Nova Scotia Community College, St. Mary's University in 2017 and 2019. She was appointed to the 15th Nancy's Chair in Women's Studies, an illustrious position in feminist studies. Her book, Abolitionist Intimacies, was awarded the Evelyn Richardson Prize for Nonfiction. Now I will also introduce our other speaker, and then I will just move on accordingly and ask some questions. Our next speaker is Rachel Lutz. Rachel Malko Lutz, I hope I pronounced your name right, is an award-winning educator, musician, advocate. Raised in Wolfville, Nova Scotia, Rachel lived in St. John's, Newfoundland, and Kensington, Ontario, before returning to Nova Scotia in 2020. Since her return to province, she has worked with newcomers, youth, and the LGBTQ plus population, members of First Nation, and other marginalized groups in major international and provincial organizations like Arch, Immigrant Services Association of Nova Scotia, Nova Scotia Community College, Acadia University, and Dalhousie University. With a background in arts, Rachel is the founder and conductor of the Halifax and Dartmouth Newcomer Choir and the executive director of Newcomer Choir Association Canada, a groundbreaking initiative that uses choral singing as a tool to help newcomers to Canada to learn English and integrate into their new community. Her efforts have been documented by national media outlets, including CBC News, Broadview Magazine, and the Globe and Mail. Rachel is one of the winners of the 2013 Doris Anderson Award for Canadian Changemaking and Daniel Mark Advocacy in Law. So thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. So I'm just going to start my questions with Elle. And we'll keep it open to the audience. If they have any question, they can join us as well. So my first question is from Elle is, what's the power of art for you?
I think the power of art is storytelling and relationship. So obviously, because I do political poetry, when I first started doing it, I didn't even understand things I was saying would make people uncomfortable. I thought they were just truths that everybody knew. And then, of course, people got mad because I was talking about oppression and race and the state and stuff. But along with people got mad were the people who related to what I was talking about in my poems. And those people would come and tell me their own stories, or ask me to come to events in community. And that also really shaped my artistic practice. I wasn't at the time, this was like before I was poet laureate and stuff. I wasn't getting invited to do whatever the stage at Jazz Fest, but the people that were inviting me were the refugee center when they were making a garden for, somebody who hanged themselves when he was supposed to be deported, or the people in prison and the people in my community. So all of that also really taught me the way that art can not only tell our stories, but I think it creates a space of connection that when someone's sharing with you and when you're sharing with them, there's something that happens. I think our hearts open to each other. And then in terms of the message, people are willing to listen to a message in a poem in ways that, an essay, or they might not want to watch a documentary, but if they're coming to a show, you're going to get them on stage with all kinds of different ideas as well. So for me, I've always thought that poetry is political. I've always tried to take my time on stage to speak what needs to be said. I am very aware that my grandmother couldn't speak, my mother, that they, as colonized people, um, like literally grew up under colonialism, that they didn't have, I'm really the first generation that can speak. So I try to always think in whatever time I have, what is it that I need to say for my ancestors, for people suffering today? Like, what is it where my words can make the most impact? So for me, that's really important. And I think it's opened a lot of doors in terms of you can go places with art that otherwise maybe you couldn't, and you can even share beyond languages. So yeah.
Um, yeah, it's very, I mean, you've already answered sort of my next question was like, is art inherently political? As we see it nowadays, and then like,
Not for everyone, obviously. In fact, I think there's usually a push for your art to not be political. So I think when you choose to do political art, and I think spoken word should it be an inherently political form. I mean, we just saw at the Super Bowl, this
yeah, I was
debate
gonna
over,
bring that.
yeah. But of
Yeah.
course, the most revolutionary thing that happened in that performance was the man
Mm.
who held up the Free Gaza, Free
Yeah,
Sudan
yeah.
flag and got removed by the police. So I think we also have to push our art to move beyond just like some aesthetics of the political, like surface area political, and be
Hmm.
truly political. And that also means being connected in community. I think it means being connected to action. I think it's easy to sort of say one or two words when it's convenient. And then, as Stormzy did, erase your Twitter when it's time to get a McDonald's sponsorship. So I think to be truly political, you have to be courageous, you have to be committed, you have to take the consequences of that, whatever that means. Um, and you have to stick by it. I think I try not to say things. I don't generally have to walk back what I say because if I say something, I believe in it and I said it for a reason. And yeah, there's backlash. People cancel you, people get mad, people get uncomfortable, people call you hateful, all those things happen. But um, I believe, that I'm also speaking with people, not for people, but um, people that want me to go on that stage and say things that support me when I do it, that ask me to speak. And I think that gives you strength. So I think for me, the politics of art isn't just a surface thing in the message, it's also the ethical way that you try to create art and to live in community with it as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I feel like I don't know, like for me, I feel like sometimes artists, like certain artists that are very famous and they have a lot of sponsorships and they're put in a very like critical situation because sometimes it becomes really hard for them to be political, but also they're thinking about like certain things that they might lose that could be like their career, sponsorship, and so on. So
And I
uh,
mean, I went through that, especially at the beginning of my career. Like I was, again, I didn't really, I honestly, genuinely thought the stuff I was saying was stuff that everybody knew. And I was like shocked when people thought it was so offensive. And then I was like, well, I kind of like that. I mean, if people are getting mad at you, like that probably means you're saying things that need to be
mhm,
said. Um, and I think, yeah, like, I mean, I was in the West Bank at the beginning of January for a couple of weeks, and I got
mhm,
to share poetry in Ramallah and in Bethlehem
wow.
with Palestinians. And, in Palestine, people like you say, in Canada, you say you're a poet, and people are like, oh,
Hmm.
what do you do with that? In Palestine, you say you're a poet, and people are like, a poet, because the Palestinian culture is full of so many poets and writers and so much resistant writing, so that was actually a really beautiful thing to have that renewed, I guess, that, what our art can do and to have people relate and be great. Like, Palestinians living under genocide and occupation coming up and thanking me for doing a poem that talked about Palestine when I've done nothing. They're the ones that are. So I
Hmm.
think that really kind of renewed if it hadn't, like, it just really recreated my resolve that art has to speak these truths. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's very amazing. So I didn't know that you had actually gone to Palestine and spent time there. Yeah. Maybe I know maybe you want to talk a little bit about that experience and what made you to move to sort of like go to Palestine.
Yeah, so I got an invite. So Sabeel, I don't know if people are familiar with it. They've been around for about 40 years, and generally what they do is intervene in tours of like religious tours of the Holy Land.
Hmm.
Palestinians would say all lands are holy.
Hmm.
But they've started doing delegations of other people, like writers and scholars,
Hmm.
especially obviously post October 7th, and it's to witness and to share, and also like frankly economic tourism to try and get people to come and see that
Hmm.
we can come and keep Palestinian hotels open, like
Hmm.
spend money with Palestinians. So we went on a witnessing delegation. We went to a number of different communities, different farming communities, Bedouin communities, just seeing what life is like under occupation. We
Mhm.
met with a number of leading Palestinians, activists, writers, journalists, human rights people, to just really take the time to teach us about what's happening so we could see it for ourselves. And then the
Mhm.
motto, see, go and tell. So um, it was really, but I mean, there was like everywhere you went, there was street art, like in Siloam. They have the eyes painted of
Mhm.
people looking back. We were in Ida refugee camp, which got raided a couple of days after we left.
Mhm.
And there's art everywhere. Like you look on the wall, there's art, like the
Mhm.
the little occupation wall, the checkpoints. People put art wherever. Um, People will know, like know poetry, know the songs, know everything. So you saw how important art is as a resistant thing there and how much the voices of people matter. So it was a harrowing trip. We talked to political prisoners, people who were being tortured. We just really saw what it's like. We got, jacked up by the police in Hebron. Like we got stopped eight times in 800 meters just walking on the street. So we experienced that, but then also experienced, yeah, the beautiful resistance of Palestinians, the beautiful hospitality of Palestinians. As they said repeatedly, our existence is resistance. And they meant like resistance on the land, existence on the land. So it was really powerful. It taught me a lot. And I'm glad you asked me to speak about it because part of the obligation when you go is to come back and encourage people to keep speaking. And it's like, I guess to take it back to art, you know, um, we might risk our jobs. We might risk, some funding. We might risk, oh no, you go to the event and someone might not invite you back. Oh well, you know because there's people that are being killed on their land. There's people that can't walk to school because the dogs are being set on them, children.
Mhm.
And, so I think when you see that, just to know that the risk that we take and the reward we get as an artist it's so much less risk and you get so much outsized reward, like so much credit for courage when it doesn't actually take that much courage to say something. So what? Somebody gets mad, oh no, somebody calls you something. So I think it's just I like to think that art is also that kind of organizing tool. We engage in it together, we share it together, and it should strengthen us as we speak and as we listen as well, and remind us that there is another way. Another world is possible, and we can win. And I think that yeah, I just like to carry that in the art. But if people want to know more about Palestine, like we can, that's a long conversation, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can talk some more. I'm welcome. If you want to ask me to come and speak on it anywhere, I'm happy to do so for free because that's part of what I owe Palestine.
No, no, thank you for saying that. Yeah. I mean, you might have already sort of answered this question, but I had another question is like, how do you use art to connect with others, to mobilize people in action, to foster a sense of belonging, particularly as it relates to marginalized communities, including immigrants, migrants, and refugees. Um,
Yeah. So obviously I'm in Africa, Nova Scotia, and my art is really grounded within that, as a poet. We are an oral culture. So poetry is also respected within Black cultures. We speak, learn, send culture orally. So it's a really important piece of our spirituality, our political organizing. So when I write, I always try to write things that anybody could understand. So, you're taking theory, concepts, whatever, but I feel like people should be able to understand them. They should be able to listen to you at any age level and like get what you're saying. That's really important. I often write for things like rallies or specific events. And I think even just having the poem itself might not be like that great, but people in the moment when the thing we're doing is being named, like we are standing in front of this school right now that we're stopping from being demolished and there's a poem about it. I think that's really powerful to people. Like the significance of naming is important. So I think it is an organizing tool. And just to encourage people to know more, I take my inspiration from, many great African poets within the Black tradition, poets across the diaspora, and then obviously other poets from oppressed circumstances. It amazes me that, people have written in prison without, I know I work with writers in prison, that can't even get paper and they're, writing so tiny so they can fit it on the tiny amount of paper. People have written through torture, people have written through occupation, people have written through war, all these different circumstances, and people left us their writing for a reason. So we know it's powerful. Um, and yeah, I think that I also encourage people to find your own writing voice, like we have that ability to write. And I think spoken word is good for that because it's really however you want it to sound. You don't have to, English doesn't have to be your first language, you don't have to, like, nobody can see it. You don't have to be able to spell, you know what I mean? So, and Will knows this too, right? You know what I mean? Like just being able to perform, you can take space with something like spoken word or rap. You don't have to wait for someone to want to publish you. Like you can go stand outside, the detention facility and do your own poem, and then like anyone can rent a mic. So I think it's just a really powerful way to be directly with the people. And Will, you can jump in here too if you want, because I know you also do this stuff.
Sure. Hello. Great. Impressive. Yes, for the people. Um, yeah, language was a barrier, but it didn't stop me, right? So we can just make small quotes and give them to people and inspire people, make their day, right? We all suffer from the same sunshine, but we can all sunshine together. And yeah, and we can all count the stars together. And we can all sing a song in the campfire. And
Yeah.
I share my thoughts. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you very much. Um, yeah, those are some of my questions that I had. Thank you for sharing uh, your experience and answering some of my questions. We will definitely have time for everyone at the end to ask questions. Now, I would just want to move on to Rachel. Um, to Rachel Lutz. I hope I pronounce your name right, Rachel.
Yes, you got it.
All right, perfect. My first question is to tell us more about your choir and the importance of bringing people together.
Sure. So the newcomer choirs exist to provide space for community building, for English language practice, and for cross-cultural sharing within various cities across Canada. Right now, we have 3 groups that rehearse regularly in Halifax, Nova Scotia, in St. John's, Newfoundland, and in London, Ontario. All of our activities are free to attend, and you can be a newcomer or you can be a local. You can bring your children, you can bring your parents. There's no restriction for who comes to choir, and you don't even need to tell us you're coming. So it's hopefully pretty accessible for most folks. We've been rehearsing in Halifax since November of 2021 and growing since that time, and really just seeing the impact of getting to be in community together, getting to share music, but also using that really as a tool for building relationship, for reducing isolation. Hearing from newcomers that without having more activities like choir, there's just not enough ways to meet people. There's not enough ways to practice your English. There's not enough ways to network. And we get folks coming to these big cities like Halifax and St. John's and London and, finding themselves quite isolated when really what they need is more people, not fewer. So this is one tool that we have found to be successful in that, and to watch the relationships grow within the groups, to watch the English language skills grow, to watch the musicality grow is so exciting. And we talk a lot about the music kind of being a bit of a trick, to get people in the door. We say it's a choir, but really, we're not there to make high quality, exceptional music. We're there to build community in that space.
Oh, oh, so that's such an amazing idea. I always feel like music can bring people together, but more importantly, you highlighted the isolation part, which is very important when it comes to newcomers and immigrants. And you feel when you come to a new country, like just from my experience, an immigrant when I came here, it's always very isolating. So yeah, I mean, you're looking for folks to connect. So I guess music's the best way, to make friends and connect with others. So yeah, it's an My next question, maybe you sort of highlighted, but maybe you could expand a little bit more on it. How did you come up with the idea to create the square, and what were the steps in making it come together?
I was working with immigrant services in Halifax and hearing from a lot of the newcomers that we were serving that they were attending classes regularly for English language, but were not getting a lot of opportunity to practice. So they'd come to class for 2 hours in the morning, maybe, and then go home. And of course, lives just don't revolve around the consistent practice of this language necessarily. Folks are parenting, they're working, they're doing lots of different things. And equally hearing, as you say, about the isolation, this feeling of not meeting new people, not meeting Canadians, not knowing how to meet folks, and then of course finding that challenging when you need to go out and get work or you need support in your community, that you're missing those connections that make it possible to feel like you're at home in these new places. I worked with a number of other choral conductors. I'm a choral singer, and I'm an English teacher. So it was a natural fit for us to take these things that we already were sort of doing in silos and say, okay, can we bring these activities together? Can we bring in the settlement services? Can we bring in the English language instruction? Can we bring in the music? And make this a space for folks to be together and to reduce some of those barriers to things that they otherwise needed to access, but were maybe struggling to access. We also started, as I say, in the fall of 2021. So post-COVID, yes, but still very active, isolating times for folks in Nova Scotia when we first started. And wait times for services were still really long. Lots of programs hadn't gone back to being in person yet. And so there was a lot of missing pieces for people as they were arriving in Canada. And we were seeing really big numbers, really exciting numbers of newcomers arriving without enough service provision at that time. Now, since then, of course, we've seen improvement and COVID situations have changed. But really seeing some gaps that we could fill with the services that we were offering. And making sure that we were reducing some of the barriers that we were seeing in other activities. So, to enroll your child in a formal choir, often there's a registration form, there's a high fee, there's an audition, there's certain dates, you have to be at the right place at the right time. And those things are really tricky when you're new in a country and you're trying to figure out, is this a good fit for my child, and can I make this work for my family? So really for us was trying to say, okay, how do we take all those complicating factors out of the discussion, and reduce the barriers to access as much as was feasible at the time, which led us to these free programs and the expansion over time of services. So for example, now we have a weekly online English class, also free, also unregistered. You can show up anytime. We have a civics politics class that I teach weekly. We have an arts management and leadership course for newcomers who want to learn how to run arts organizations, who want to work behind the scenes in these organizations and get jobs or grow their careers in these organizations. All free activities, all often offered online or in some accessible format for folks. So really using this as a tool to reach people in different spaces and fill these gaps between immigration and migration and settlement and the arts community in these cities where we work.
Mm. Oh, very interesting. So it's a combination of different different things coming all together. I assumed I didn't have that much information, so it's like um like something. Most of your clients, I believe, are like youth, or are they folks that are older as well?
We have singers in our choir now from ages 4 to I think 83 was our oldest participant
Wow,
last
wow,
year. So it's a
wow.
very wide range. We've got folks from all over the world. We've got folks from Canada, people who come with their kids, people who come with their parents. Often refugee sponsorship groups will bring the folks that they're sponsoring to give a nice little introduction.
Mm,
We really encourage Canadians, if you're helping out with a sponsoring group or if you're supporting a newcomer family in your community, to come together with them. Canadians are always welcome to attend, but it's part of the welcome to make sure that, you're supporting someone in the first time they attend something, because it's really nerve-wracking. It's hard to go to something for the first time in a new building. So we've tried to make that possible for everyone, and then to slowly expand our services beyond just, a weekly rehearsal.
Okay, wow. We have a question in the chat from Mino. It says, thanks, Rachel, for sharing the information about this amazing activity. Can I ask how the engagement of newcomers are like, look like, I believe?
Yeah, so newcomers who attend choir participate in the singing and in the rehearsal. And when we've hosted various courses, those courses are, of course, offered for newcomers. In our last course, when we offered the arts management program, we hired newcomers to run that program, to be the project managers for that program, and to operate the event planning around that. And then we do have not exactly a committee, but a group of singers, newcomer singers who've been with us a long time, who support with event planning. We've got newcomers on our board of directors. So if you're, interested in that work, there's always things that can be done. And there's lots of activities for folks to participate in. And whenever we hire, naturally, we are seeking newcomer staff to be the folks that we hire into these roles.
Very interesting. Has language has been, I know, like art, as Ramirez and Jones already mentioned, there's no art has no language, sort of you can express yourself. But has there been a language barrier for folks trying to participate in your program? And if there were any language program barriers, how have you overcome such issues, or rather say problems?
Yeah, language barriers are hard because you won't hear from the people who find it impossible to come, right? So there's always going to be people I know in these cities who don't hear about the programs or don't understand the information about the programs. But we do a lot of work to go into newcomer communities to make sure that we're accessing folks in situations where they're already comfortable or where there's translation services available. But really, in choir, one of the purposes of what we do is to use the music to teach English. So if you have no English skill, if you have come, we get folks coming to choir who came off the plane 6 days ago and say, very new in Canada. Part of what we do is provide the language instruction. So we know that singing is a great tool for practicing pronunciation. It's a great tool for learning new vocabulary. Words stick in your head better when they come with a tune or when they come with a rhythm, and you can dance to them, or you can sing them on the way home, or maybe you hear them on the radio, and it reinforces that learning that you've already received in choir. All of our groups are led by teachers who are also musicians, or musicians who are also teachers. So we get this inherent combination of people who say, yes, we're here to sing, also to make sure that we're emphasizing the language, we're emphasizing vocabulary, we're making sure that we're learning different grammatical structures, different verb tenses, all in the guise, in the ruse that is, we're also a choir.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Another question that I have is, have you connected with settlement agencies through your work? And what recommendation do you have for those who want to use art as a tool to engage marginalized communities?
Yeah, I think so. We've connected with settlement agencies in all the cities where we operate, and also with agencies that are more generally youth and family serving, because those often are overlapped. So for example, our St. John's Choir operates out of one of the centers that serves family and children and youth in Newfoundland. So that's a lovely partnership. Certainly, we see in Nova Scotia and in arts organizations across the country a need for greater diversity, a need for greater sense of welcome for lots of people when they're new to the arts, whether that's because they're new in Canada or whether it's just because the arts is a new place for them to be finding themselves. And so I do a lot of work with arts organizations to encourage taking active steps to make their organizations more welcoming for everyone, whether that's in a theater, whether that's in, a music venue, what have you. If you're looking to use art in these ways, I think the reduction of barriers is so important. We see programs like Jumpstart, for example, that serve to provide funding for children to participate in sport. There is no equivalent Jumpstart for children to participate in the arts, whether it's newcomer children or Canadian children. There is no jumpstart for music. There's no jumpstart for choir or dance or band or any of these things. So really, if you're interested in trying to make this possible, we have to look at the barriers to access and say, how are we reducing those across the board, whether it's putting something in a building that's on a bus route or placing it in a library where folks are already attending, eliminating the need for long registration forms and deadlines and complicated payment processes. All of these things create challenges for people to participate and just make it that much more difficult. And when we look at activities where we do see lots of newcomer kids participating, like soccer or like things that are offered through public school, we can see that lots of those are working because we've reduced the barriers, and we haven't done that successfully in the arts world. But there are certainly very good steps being taken by lots of arts organizations to engage newcomer kids and newcomer families more. That being said, there's always work that can be done and improvements that can be made.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that, and I believe also that there needs to be more funding in art programs. It's unfortunate.
Yes.
It's I mean, there's in sports and there's in other technical fields, but if we want art to be a medium for folks to express themselves, especially when you come as an immigrants, maybe the sector needs to sort of highlight that and focus on that. So totally
For sure.
agree.
And we see in our choir and we see in our arts leadership courses, folks are coming from countries where the arts are so much better funded. And it's often disappointing to in Canada and realize that we don't have that same support politically, and we don't have that same support in community. Now, that's not the case for everyone, but for those who've arrived from countries saying, whoa, where'd the money go? It's quite interesting to compare with what they're now experiencing in Canada and to see where we're lacking, where we're falling short on those things.
Yeah, no, I totally think that art is an amazing medium to engage newcomer youth, immigrants and refugee. And a good example of that is, as I highlighted, one of our programs. It's called My Community Through My Lens, or the Jack Al, one of our programs where we engage newcomer youth. They take pictures, they tell a story. It's a photo essay program. So it's one of our successful programs in the Journey to Active Citizenship project. A lot of youth, a lot of newcomer youth participated in that program, and the reason they did is because they see it's something exciting, it's something they can express themselves, and it substantially increased the level of participation of our program participants. So yeah. Now I'll open, so everyone's welcome to ask questions. If you feel free to raise your hands to ask questions, or you can also put your questions in the chat box if you're not comfortable to do so. So yeah, Alka Kumar, yes, please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be part of this panel and hear such passionate and important sort of words and thoughts about art and active citizenship. So thank you so much, Elle, for sharing your story about Palestine. Very, very touching, moving, and important. And I think needs to sort of be shared more from your perspective based in the kind of work you do. And Rachel, it's great. You're talking about, how art can be used more in a community setting. And I feel you mentioned a lot of barriers that need to be surmounted And I think one of the important barriers that you spoke to right at the end was funding, because the arts ecosystem is so precarious that it is hard for artists, all artists, and also even more for newcomer artists. And I feel like, and with my own work, I work as a researcher at the Canada Excellence Research Program in Migration at TMU. So I live in Toronto, and but my sort of focus of my work and my passion in that work is really coming from my work in a community setting, because I work with individuals as well. And as part of one of my projects currently, there's a partnership with a community arts organization. We're doing some research on the impact this community arts organization has on has because of its work in the newcomer settlement sector. And there aren't that many of these, so I'm working with, you're probably maybe familiar with it, Mabel Arts, and they partner with other community arts organizations and with settlement agencies. And one of the big barriers I find, because I've been working in employment as well in settlement, and everybody is so focused in this narrow way. Oh, some people have to find this job. And I totally understand. And then sometimes art is seen like almost like a waste of time and energy and resources, on the part of individuals as well, because they say, oh, this, we need to focus. There's so much panic around finding that right space for yourself career wise, and there's so many other challenges of settlement of family and everything. So in that's another big barrier. I find the mindset that says, you can't do this. We don't have time to do this. And yet those who come and experience these programs, they are the ones who are converted, but it's a handful. And the funding as well is peanuts when it comes to settlement agencies investing their resources in community arts. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. It's fantastic the work you're doing, and I would love to connect with you to learn more, and I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and those are some great points. I think one of the really interesting things for us that came out of the arts management course that we offered in the fall was addressing some of those concerns coming from newcomers themselves, right? We see even in Canada that young people can experience a lot of pressure not to go into arts careers and rather to focus on, perhaps something that seems more academic or more professional, however we define that. But to hear from newcomers as well that there are, of course, barriers to accessing arts jobs in Canada. And so it was really exciting to get speakers to come to this course who are currently professionals in the arts world in Nova Scotia to speak to their experience and to provide networking opportunities. And we saw from that course, several of our members go out straight away and access career options, access jobs in the arts otherwise weren't aware of or didn't know existed, or lacked the network to access those roles. And so while we do this kind of front end work in performance, in choir, in singing, we're also looking at the back end to say, how do we increase the knowledge of the arts sector across the country for newcomers, and in turn make it possible for them to access roles that otherwise they may not know exist. And we know that arts organizations are seeking to increase the diversity of their membership and the diversity of their staff teams. And so how do we put those pieces together and say, great, we have the positions available. Let's make sure that the newcomers are accessing those positions in the most efficient and hopefully profitable way possible for them and their families.
Thank you. One quick question, Rustam, if I wanted the emails for some of the speakers here, is there a way I can get that? Would they be okay with it? And because we
Yeah,
definitely want to connect more.
yeah, I think they could probably share it in the chat box, and I could definitely get you the speaker emails. I'm quite sure there shouldn't be any issues with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I just put my email in the chat.
Thank you,
very
lovely.
much.
Thank you so much.
Feel free, folks, to put your questions in the chat box or raise your hands if you have any questions from Rachel, from L. Jones, or from Ramirez. Baker.
I can do a poem if people want, and
That
Yeah,
would
go
be
ahead.
lovely.
That'd be amazing.
let me just pull this up. Can't do without us. We've been central. Yes, we know that we're essential. Work us to death, and yet in general denied benefits, pensions, dental. Treat us like we're instrumental, like a pencil or utensil. You may not own us, but we're still rentals. History changed the way you tell it. Write us off and say you founded black servants who never counted. Indigenous land is your surroundings. A Sherpa led you up that mountain. The high rises glitter through our downtown. A janitor pushes the mop around. Without us, you'd not get off the ground. Without us, you would not survive. The retail workers and delivery drivers skip the dishes, skip the lineup, call someone I'll five for cleanup. Manager tells us to speed up. Just sit back and put your feet up. One of us will come to sweep up. We climb the ladder while you leap up. Inch by inch, we try to creep up where the storm inside the teacup. Mind the kids, assist the teachers, cashiers, cabbies, nannies, cleaners. Don't acknowledge, but you need us. Don't acknowledge, but you need us. Can't do without us. Been the leaders, built this country before we freed us. Resist against the overseers, Chloe Cooley, Angelique, Richard Preston, Thomas Peters, railway porters on those sleepers. Look through history how they treat us. Sweatshop workers sew your sneakers, slave catchers patrol police us, lock us up for misdemeanors simply for our skin and features, catch us up in your procedures. Still, we all remain the dreamers. Immigrants and refugees from the mailroom to the corner office, still they always profit off us. They hire us. They say they're cautious, giving us a lower offer wage gap. Resume is tossed, doesn't change when we're white collar. We work for pennies on the dollar. Say hijab just makes them bothered. The way they treat us, that's unlawful. That's why we band together so they can't stop us, like the ones who came before us. Carry best, and those who taught us don't give in. Get a lawyer, black class action, fight the system, strike, petition, lawsuit, sit in. Without demands, they'll never listen. Bromley Armstrong, we're your children. Lynn Jones, too, and Jan Simpson organized the whole damn building. One, then two, and then a million. No more temps, interns, and fill-ins. Solidarity is a given. We're done code switching, trying to fit in. No more deals that try to cheat us. Pay us if you want to keep us. Work twice as hard. Overachievers can't admit it, but you need us. Can't admit it, but you need us. Can't do without us on your committee. Civil service secretaries, administrators do the spreadsheets. Only know our value once you leave us. Without us, who would plan for February? This nonsense, it could drive us silly, except we always know our history. Should I take it back to treaties? Gave their aid to Europeans. In return, they got diseases, but you never can delete us. Domestic workers from West Indies, status for all is what we need. Bring us from across the ocean, can't do without us. We're not tokens, rebellions in our hemoglobin. Lift the signs and shout the slogans. No justice while this land is stolen. All this oppression, we're unbroken. Tired of how it goes unspoken. Foreign qualifications, no promotions. Natural hair cause a commotion. Somehow we're just never chosen. Say we're angry when we show emotion. Say you don't accept diplomas. When it comes to us, the doors aren't open. When it comes to us, the money's frozen. When it comes to us, a secret quota. We rose up in Minnesota, Standing Rock in North Dakota. Now here comes another quota. Pay us what you know you owe us. Reparations, settlement, grievance, divide and rule won't come between us. Mi'kmaq fisheries will feed us with this sovereign land beneath us. Fight before they leave us treeless. Fight before the pipelines reach us. Fight on land that's still unceded. Stand together. You can't beat us. You might pretend that you can't see us, but don't forget it that you need us. Can't do without us, because you need us. Built this whole damn thing. You best believe it.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you.
Wow. 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 That's all I get. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
I don't know. We have time. Does anybody else want to talk?
I
Yeah.
got a couple of singers in our group here, and I got a comment from someone in the chat to me saying that, speaking about their experience in choir, that when they are taught traditional songs, in this case from Nova Scotia, it's an opportunity to learn about the culture, geography, and history of the place, which breaks an important cultural barrier. It allows us to better understand and appreciate the place we have chosen as our home. Which that was a really lovely way of summarizing that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Jones. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
So do you have a video you could pull up of the choir? Is that like, would you have a recording
Mm.
on?
Oh,
We
yeah,
watch
that'd be
that?
nice.
I think so. Just give me a second.
And there's another question in the chat, which is another perspective to the earlier question that Jamie, I believe that in Canada, foreign artists tend to mix primarily with individuals from their own country or culture. It's rare for them to cross that boundary. Why do you think this occurs? Do you have different experiences?
Mm.
I thought that was a good question too, because
Very good
it's very.
question. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that a language, and even, people often feel like, oh, my English isn't good enough, even if, they have English. I think there's a lot of stigma around people feeling that they don't have perfect English and don't want to share and stuff. And then I think artistic spaces are frequently cliquey. Like it's often who you know, friends of friends. And so even if we say the space is welcoming, like how do you find out about events? Like it's usually within groups. So if you're not already part of the group, I think it can be hard to feel confident going into a space, to feel supported and welcome in that space, to feel good enough to be in a space. And if you already have barriers, like you've dealt with violence, you're dealing with trauma, you've dealt with displacement. It takes a lot to, go into a space and share, get up on stage, speak. These are things that for anybody are extremely nerve-wracking. So I think we often don't create the spaces that are those meeting points, that make it okay to share in different languages and just share with each other anyway. Not to keep talking about Palestine, but like when we were in Ramallah, we saw a play in Arabic, but we understood the play because of the acting, but then we often don't think that we can still speak with each other and understand each other and make it welcoming. So I think it's, yeah, like just, I don't think we do enough inter-community work with each other to make it possible and for people to feel really comfortable coming in those spaces. Do we have a choir video?
Yeah. Can I jump in?
Uh,
Yeah.
so- yeah, go ahead,
Can I
please.
just jump in really quick? Because I think that, sorry, I'm Sarah and I'm here with Will. I'm just
Yeah.
supporting. But one of the things, so everything has struck me tremendously. Thank you for sharing. The poetry is amazing. The art is amazing. I think the only thing that I would add to the conversation would just be the reality of racism in our country, and that some art is acceptable and other art is not so much. And so rap, for example, is not an art form that is embraced or welcomed by all spaces and all people. Typically, a Black culture, right? Historically, Black culture and urban culture has brought hip hop and rap into our spaces and into our world. And so there's lots of spaces and lots of groups of people that don't necessarily embrace it quite yet or love it or see it, consider it art at all. So I think racism plays a huge role in what we actually see and value and what we help elevate and what we don't. So just wanted to add that bit.
Definitely.
Okay, let's see. Rachel wasn't able to share her screen, but I'll try to see if I can share that.
You got it?
Can
I
you?
don't like that air, so I'm like, if you need more time, I can do
No,
another.
no. Can you hear me? I think I turned off my Bluetooth because if I have the Bluetooth headphones on, I won't be able nobody be able to hear me. But yeah, I got the video, so I'm just gonna share it now. Hopefully. All right, there we go. Can everyone see it? Can you see it, Jones?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear?
Not yet. No, can't hear it.
Can't hear it?
No, see it, but can't hear it.
That's strange.
You share it, you have to like you press share screen and then you press you have to check off a thing that says play sound. That should do
Sorry,
it.
Kimmy, what were we saying?
I'm just saying there's something you check off to play sound.
Oh, when I share it?
Yeah, when you share the screen, right away it'll give you the
Oh,
option to
share
play
sound.
sound.
Oh, I see. I see. Share sound. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Rustam. Is this sharing oh, okay. This
Yeah, we
is
just wanted to share something.
okay. After this, could we rejoin the main room to set up for the next sessions? I'm sorry to be the downer
Yeah,
to
sure.
everyone.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are one.
Thank you, everyone. I think we have a hard stop. We have to return back to the main room. So thank you very much, Rachel, for sharing this. See you all in the main room.
One of which is about housing crisis or inaccess to housing and how folks have done work or engaged in active citizenship or civic engagement around in Canada and abroad. And the other session is about journeys to active citizenship specifically and the curriculum and hearing from and learning from people who have done the work of implementing the program that have been created by the Journeys to Active Citizenship team. If you would like to listen and watch and be part of the panel on housing, please stay in the main room. If you would like to join the Journeys to Active Citizenship in action, please join the breakout room now. I have changed the name of the group in order to make it clearer. You can join the breakout rooms now. If you
Hi. Hi, everyone.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm good. How are you, Sally?
Good, not too bad.
Good to see you.
You as well.
Do we have Pilar here with us? Mm, we'll wait for a few more minutes, see who else joins us. Hmm. Mhm. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us today in this breakout room. Today we will just speak about the Journeys to Active Citizen program, and some of the folks will share the experiences and facilitating some of the activities and program modules. So whether new to Canada and unsure how to get involved or highly engaged, our activities support people in their journey as active citizens. Our activities are co-created with settlement sector over 2 years. Our curriculum activities are made to meet participants where they are at. These activities have been designed to be used by settlement sector staff with their clients, ideally in a group setting or using asset-based facilitation. Asset-based facilitation supports learners in finding and applying what they are good at. Every activity has a facilitator guide and the activity sheet for participants. Some activities have slide decks. Some activities can be delivered in 1 or 2 hour sessions. Others are better spread over multiple sessions. Some activities are only appropriate for online delivery. Others are in person. In a few cases, they have been adapted for either. Um, learn how to lead these activities by using our asset-based facilitation techniques. This means that JAC program, Journeys Active Citizen programs and curriculum help guide instructors through the process of activating participants' prior knowledge. Following some of these tips shared here, we will help learners build on what they already know. You can learn how to identify the strengths that the participants bring into a session. Instructors can use these principles to help build a supportive learning environment for all. Now I'll ask the speakers to introduce themselves, especially folks that who have participated in our activities and program modules. So, Sally, you can introduce yourself. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sadi Abu Shaheen, and I am the Youth Services Manager at OCISO, which is Ottawa Community Immigrant Services Organization. So with my team, we work directly with youth who are newcomers, immigrants, refugees, permanent residents, also youth that had the Ukrainian visa, the QAT visa as well. We do offer all kinds of programs. So in schools and after school programming. So for in school programs, most of the items that we would do is just supporting the youth with sense of belonging in the schools and feeling like they that comfortable in their new homes. And we would also do after school programming. So we do programs every day in our community center. And finally, we do also do a summer program called Now Program, which is Newcomer Orientation Week, and where it's a youth-led approach. So 1 week we train youth um, who were once newcomers, and then the second week they are teaching youth who are completely new to Canadian schools, and help them learn about and navigate the school system. So that's a little bit about what we do, and we were part of the pilot program for the Jack program, so we were so happy to have that, and I'm excited to share our experience with that, with the project. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Yeah, Susanna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Yes, my name is Susanna. I worked with Teach to Learn, and we were able to work last year with the program. We work with youth and children, mostly like newcomers and immigrants. They're just like going through their process adapting in a new country. And yeah, well, I'm just happy to meet everyone.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your information. Um, so I'm just have a few questions. I'm gonna go on, and then we'll have the opportunity for everyone else to ask questions. And in the meantime, if you'd like to ask questions from our speakers or from me, you can also put your questions in the chat box or raise your hands. So my first question is, how did you come to know about Jack, Joint Active Citizenship Program, and why were you interested in piloting an activity or program module? So whoever wants to go first.
Sure, I can go first. So we were actually reached out, I believe through I believe Tanya was one that reached out to us. I can't remember. Or maybe you heard some. I'm not really. I
We
don't really
were
remember.
me and Paul,
Yeah, both. Yeah,
Tanya's.
both. Yeah. So we that's how we actually learned about it because we are in Ottawa, so not too far from North York, but still. So we learned about it through that, and the idea of helping newcomer youth connect to the community and also engaging in with like local resources seemed like a really good fit for us and for the youth we serve. So we were very happy to be part of that.
Thank you.
Oh, I can also share.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
We're also reached out, which was great. We are in Toronto. We work with in the area of Keelan Finch, so it's kind of considered one of like the less privileged areas of the GTA, and there are a lot of immigrants. So we were able to work with the youth doing photo essays, which was really good. Like the kids had an amazing time with it.
Thank you very much for saying that. Yeah, so I've seen that. Another question that comes up to mind is like, how did you generate interest from community members to take part in the activity that you guys piloted?
I'm not sure, Susanna, if you want to jump in anytime, so let me know if you want to respond or I don't know.
Yeah,
But
sure, you could say your part and then I could kick in
yeah,
if anything. Yeah, of
sounds great.
course.
So with the community members, so for example, with youth, I'll talk about our clients and also the community partners that we kind of incorporated to the program. So for the youth specifically, we do have a program called the Ukrainian Youth Connect. It was a funding specifically for a Ukrainian youth facilitator. So we really did incorporate that with the Ukrainian Youth Connect program, and it was really great to see. Because a lot of those youth were completely new to Ottawa and Canada, so they just really got to know, and I'll talk more about that with the other questions. But so that's how we engaged. We do have a core youth of Ukrainian youth that come to our programs, so they were very much engaged right away and excited to join. And then we also, part of the photo essay, we did connect with community resources around the city and around the neighborhood that we operate from, and we let them know what we were doing, and they were very excited to hear about it. So just like going in and visiting the locations, sharing, going in with the youth, that's how it made the community partners also very interested. And it wasn't only like organizations like libraries, but also we are like our building is close to like the Service Ontario. So even like telling the youth like this is where you get your photo ID, and then them doing research about what is Service Ontario, what kind of services can you get from there. So just letting them know what each place is, and then them doing the research, it allowed a really good it made them get connected, and then also the community partners and agencies were also learning about why it's so important for them to learn about these resources. Yeah.
Well, for us, we basically have a drop-in center every Monday. So youth already know that they could go there and we offer them like workshops and stuff. And when we were reached out by you guys, we were able to like kind of tell the youth through our Instagram pages that we were going to have this program and it was going to be something like a new experience. And just like Salih said, we also have like newcomers. So it was really good because they were able to go into the community and like see things that they hadn't seen before or learned like that before there was a library there was like maybe a factory. So it was also like a really good experience for the youth to get to know that stuff, especially because we know to a country and the culture hard. So let's make
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, did I cut off?
I don't know. I don't know. We've been cut off.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay,
Okay, I think something wrong with
yes.
the net.
So our organization is again not for profit, and we are funded mainly by IRCC. So we are running many programs for newcomers. So my part of job is like when the newcomers reach the last leg of their journey. I help people to pass their citizenship knowledge test exam. I don't think IRCC, I mean, any other organization in Canada, they get funding to do this kind of service, because I did a lot of research and I didn't find anybody doing this kind of service. So I do get clients. I am running online classes on Zoom, free service. I do get clients from Ontario. I do get clients from New Brunswick who attend the classes. And in addition, I also do, for community engagement, I also do the workshops where I moderate rather the workshops. I invite different speakers, uh, and we do programs. I also do field visits. Field trips, and we are our organization does a lot of workshop, but I particularly moderate workshops on the topic of community engagement, anti-racism. Sometimes I invite speakers from Elections Canada, to let people know how to vote. Many of them don't know. So my main focus is to help people pass their citizenship exams. I get different kinds of people who really don't know, who do not understand, the uh, simple terminology. Parliament, for example, they don't know. They may have passed link level 4 to qualify to apply for citizenship, but they still don't understand many things. So our program is very popular. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I will leave my email ID in the chat. Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so thank you. So the next question I have from agencies who have participated in facilitating Journeys to Active Citizenship activities and program modules, from Sally and Susanna, is how was the program received and what worked well?
I think that for our organization, the youth received it really well because it was something new, and most of them didn't even know what a photo essay was, so they also got to learn something new. And something that I really liked was that everyone was working really well in teams, like all the youth were, because we had like different teams, so everyone had to create a different essay, and all the youth were very involved, making ideas for how the story was gonna line up. So it was really good. It was really good to see them so engaged in the activity.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Susanna. So for the OCISO, so the youth program at OCISO, the program was received. So we did it twice. The first, not twice, it was still we split it up in phase 1 and phase 2. So the phase 1 was like with the Ukrainian youth program. And that I was sharing a little bit that they were really excited already because they didn't know a lot of what was about around the city and like the community. So it was really nice for them to just learn more and take those photos. A lot of them actually started to really like photography. So even after the program ended, they would come in and be like, "Can we do that again? Or can we take photos? And can we go around?" So that was really nice to see. Um, so for the Ukrainian programming, it was really well received from the youth, and we did incorporate whenever we went out, we did like incorporate like how it was similar to like a field trip in their eyes whenever we would go out in the community. So they liked that. For phase 2, like we also ran it through our March break camp, and that was really it went really well as well. So it was incorporated into our daily activities. So a couple hours in a day, we would run the program. And we would a lot of those youth come to our drop-in center, so we already have that relationship with them, and we would match them with facilitators that were trained as well when the Jack team did come and train our staff about the program. We matched the youth that bond best with these facilitators, and then they worked together with that facilitator. And but it was mainly still youth-led approach. So the youth were the ones that were giving the idea, the facilitator like supporting them. So yeah, it was really well received. They liked it. It was a new thing for them. They felt connected to the community, and it was really great to have.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Another question that comes to mind is like, why is fostering a sense of community important in the sector? And how did a Journey to Active Citizenship program help you with doing this work? Maybe Susanna can share her experience or answer this
Like
question.
kind of why is it important to have a sense of community? Is that
Yeah,
what the
why is fostering a sense of community important in this sector, the sector that we work, and how did Jack program help you with doing this work?
Okay, for us, for like Teach to Learn, since like we work with immigrant kids and newcomers, we find that it's important for them to know that they also have a community, even though it's a different culture, and there's like different like religions and different stuff. Like it's very different from where they come from. So we wanna create like a sense of belonging, knowing that even though they're in a country where things are very different, they could still find people that are, that like the similar music with them, similar food and stuff like that. And regarding the Jack project, it was very good because the youth actually worked within their communities taking the pictures. So it was nice because they were able to see kind of like the community where they lived in, like different resources, like community centers, public libraries, things that before they weren't really aware of, they were around. So they got us an opportunity to be able to go out and see what the community offers.
Thank you. Um, I'll be back in a second. Just give me a minute. I'll be back. Sorry for that.
So hi everyone, I just wanted to ask if everyone wants to share maybe their Instagram and stuff, we could probably follow everyone's organizations and just kind of see. I know not everyone is in Toronto, but it'll be maybe nice to just kind of connect. Yeah. The projects, what everyone
Sure.
has, like what everyone's project offers to the community.
Maybe I'll break the awkward silence. I think Rustam will forgive me. Hi, everyone. My name is Kimia. I'm part of the evaluation team that's been working alongside the Jack project for the last 4 years now. And I just wanted to respond to Elsa, your question about what kind of facilitation he'd mentioned. That's an asset-based approach. So what that meant for the project is really recognizing that when a lot of newcomers come to Canada, right, you lose confidence, right? It can really hit your self-esteem because you come to a new place, you don't know anybody, you're struggling to get employment, you can't find housing, and you can lose a lot of confidence in that process. So it was really important to the project to build curriculum that was not only meeting newcomers where they're at, but really highlight the country with and celebrating those skills. So that's very much like a part of the intention with the project was to use that approach and help rebuild immigrants' confidence about the many skills that they come here with and competencies. I hope that helps answer the question. Maybe Sally. I just think it's really funny that I'm stepping in here a little bit as the moderator, but maybe you can actually just answer the question that Rustam had asked as well, just
Sure.
to stay on track. Yeah.
It was about the fostering a sense of community, why, how it was important.
Yeah, like why is it important and to what extent did this project help
Sure.
achieve that? Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm sorry if I'm like I'm getting nervous. It's because my cat is just meowing at my door. So that's why I'm just trying to tune him out. So, and I'm trying to talk loud enough that that you guys can't hear him. Yeah, for basically for Yosiso, what we why it was so important for us, it was because and how the Jack program helped. Um, Supported, connected, empowered too, because they were the ones going out and doing the photo essays, and it was their ideas from their perspective. So that was really great to see, and also building their relationship between each other. A lot of the youth are newcomers. They didn't have, yes, they come to our center, they have friends, and but through this program themselves, they were able to get to know each other a bit more. And the Jack program also, it was a great tool for us to in achieving like for the youth to get to know the local community and the resources available to them, and for them to build social connections as well, and encouraging their active participation in the community. So yeah, that's why we it was great for us to be a part of it, and why fostering a sense of community is so important to us, and how Jack helped with that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kimia, for. Sorry, I had to run out for a minute. Okay. So another question I have is, what does active citizenship mean to you now that you have participated in the program? Did you hear? Sorry.
I can go, I guess. For us, I would say what active citizenship means to us is just to. It's really the word like active citizenship, to be involved in the community, to be an active as citizen, and it doesn't mean you don't have to be a citizen of the country or the that you reside in, but like a Canadian citizen or something. So a lot of the youth were like, oh, what's the word citizen? Confused about that a little bit, but just being part of the community you're in, getting connected, because through those kind of initiatives, that's how you feel that you belong somewhere, and also you can learn more about yourself too, like new hobbies or about yourself. Like the youth I was sharing, a lot of them through this program, they really started to love photography. Also, some youth we did visit like the National Arts Gallery as part of our tour, like our part of the program while they were taking photos. And a lot of them also go and visit these places after school. And they learned that some of these museums are free after school on Thursdays. So I think just being involved and being active citizens is so important, because just because you get to feel a sense of belonging in the community you're in. So for
Okay.
us, for Teach to Learn, just to touch a little bit based, also the same thing, like youth probably didn't have, like most of the youth didn't know that they were able to get like a library card for free, and they were able to use the computer, because some of them, since they do live in like a low resource area, they don't have a lot of things to like maybe help them with homework. Some of them don't have cell phones. So it was nice because they were able to see that. Also, something that was very important was some of the youth were able to see some health centers which were free, no questions asked. You don't have to show any ID, any of that. So they were able to see places that if they're sick and stuff, and because some of the youth that we do work with do not have a status yet. So they're able to go to like this free clinics, and they even have this community center where they offer them free psychology help. Like if they want to talk to someone for free because the process of coming here has been affected them, they could do that. So that was something very good for them. And some of them were very happy that they were able to find that, because they were like, last week my mom was sick, but we just bought some stuff in Shoppers because we can't take it to the doctor. So it was very good for them to see everything that they were able to get, even though they don't have a status or speak the language, because some of these places do offer them Spanish speaking people that will help them translate and stuff.
Thank you for sharing. Susanna, if I'm not mistaken, your organization sort of has a relationship with like a local MP, and some of the program participants volunteers with them.
Yes, so we have support from the MP, because during elections and stuff, the youth that work with that we have,
they volunteer. So some of them do know English, so they're able to do canvassing or phone calls, but the ones that don't speak the language are able to help with like putting up stands or helping with flyers. So we do have that support from them, and they know who we are. And we're also in a community center called Casa Maíz,
Mm-hmm.
which we're able to have like a connection with them too. So it's very nice.
Yeah, that's
And it's
very good.
important too
Yeah.
for you to know about, even though they cannot vote yet, to know how politics and stuff work.
Yeah, no, no, that's great. That's great because I think it's important too. Because usually when you do the program, what's the next step? I know some folks refer their participants to volunteering opportunities. And since your organization already has that relationship, so that's a good way to sort of provide that volunteering opportunity and sort of give them that exposure and how the political system works. So yeah, very, very, that's good to know, good to see that. I just wanted to highlight that. Um, mm. Another question that I have from your experience, were you able to modify the curriculum to address the needs of your participants and root your teaching in asset-based facilitation?
I can share a bit, I guess. For us, we did tailor it depending. So let's say March break, since March break was shorter, it was only 4 days for us. So we did tailor it in a way where we were able to incorporate more of the programs throughout the days. Um, so that's a way we did tailor it, I would say. And since we got to run it with two different groups, learning from what we learned from the first group and just implementing it into in the second group, since it was our first time running it with the Ukrainian youth program, we did find that sometimes when we were going out in the community, they didn't really some photos that they were taking, they were just taking photos of like the floor or things like that, thinking that's a part of their photo essay, and it can be, but I think just having a more structured approach for the second part, that was and also we did have a language barrier. We do have one Ukrainian youth work facilitator that was working with the youth. Um, so I think just changing up the languaging a little bit with the youth so they can understand it a bit more, I would say, for the Ukrainian youth program.
Well, for us, for like Teach to Learn, we since we do work more with like Hispanic youth, like we're open to everyone, but mostly the kids that come are like Hispanic immigrants around the area. We mostly like worked in Spanish, and there was probably like just two kids that their parents they do speak English, but they don't speak Spanish, so they were able to kind of practice with the other youth. And what we did, because since we only have the space, the community center, we can only use it on Mondays. What we will do, because some of the kids do go to the same school, we will tell them that they could like probably in their lunchtime and stuff take pictures of things they wanted to create with their essay, and then bring them back on the Monday and then share with the rest of the group.
That's a yeah, that's a good approach. Um, let's see. Let's see if I can. I'm not sure. Like, did you guys watch or attend any of Jack webinar presentations? And were they useful in your understanding of active citizenship?
Are you talking about the stuff that you guys provided to us, like the
Yeah,
pamphlets and
that could be the info sessions or the presentations that we did. Yeah.
Yeah, for us, it was very good to have the presentation because I know you and Tanya came over to like our space and you like told us, and it was very good because we were able to there was some stuff that we were kind of confused on because we did get the pamphlets before and we read them ahead of time. But for us, it was very important having like the meeting, all of us, because we were able to kind of like the questions that we all had, kind of address them and be able to run the program more smoothly and according to what you guys were like actually looking for in the results.
And for me, I would say that we when your team came in, that was really great for them as well. I did attend I think you were in the metropolis in March, so that was
Yeah.
interesting because it was right during March break. So I left the March break camp with my team there, so I was still getting updates from them while you were presenting. So I think it was really great to also join and see um, and to be part of that as well. So yeah. It was really informative. And I think we also did have like a debrief in the end where we shared our inputs and everything. So that was also great.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, now, I mean, the floor is open to everyone to if they have any questions from Susanna and Sally about their experience in facilitating Jack activities and program modules. If you have any questions about Journeys to Active Citizenship project in itself, or any of the tools that we have created. And the floor is open. Please raise your hands, or you can put your questions in the chat box, and hopefully we can answer them for you. Okay.
Hi, I did put a question in the
Yeah,
chat because it's wonderful to learn about it from
mhm.
everybody's perspective, but I feel like maybe other people know about detail, but if we can get a bit of an overview and if you can like through screen sharing also show a couple of essays so we see, I don't know, that was just my thought and question and request.
Sure. I actually had that in mind, to be honest, because we still
Okay,
have some time. So I thought of, sharing we have a
sure.
website, Journeys to Active Citizenship website. I can put the website information in the chat box,
Thank you.
and just give me a second. All right, let's see if I can open my. Okay, and I will give you some information. Oh, that's strange. Okay, sorry, let me just do it to everyone. So this is our website. Um, I'll see if I can share my screen and give you an overview of what we have in the website. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
And can you hear my voice? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. All right. Just wanted to make sure. Um, so to just give you a brief overview, so in Journeys to Active Citizenship, I've already provided some information what the project is all about. So we create civic engagement programming and curriculum for newcomers and immigrants. So far we have created 14 activities and 2 program modules. So this is our website where you can access all the resources that we have built so far. And all of our activities, or whether it's the 2 program modules which we have created, one for youth and one for adult refugee and immigrants, they all come with a facilitator guide that provides information how to facilitate the activity of the program module. It comes with presentation PowerPoint slides, which will be participant facing, and it comes with worksheet that goes on with each activity and program module. So it's a complete package. I'll just right now I will navigate since Alka you asked about the photo essay program. So the photo essay program is our youth program. So you can access it through our website. You'll come to models, and here we have all program models, and it's the youth active citizenship program is called Our Community Through Our Lens. So if you click here, sorry, So this will give you a little bit information, a little bit of background about the program, what the program's all about, and all the resources are also available here. So this will give you audience, age, what type of age group the program targets, language, intermediate to advanced English, prior political knowledge experience is not required, the group size, these are the objectives of the Youth Active Citizenship Program, which is a photo essay program. By participating in this program, practice new and further develop existing civic skills, recognize skills and ways to use them to participate in communities, are more aware of history and culture, places important in the communities. As you can see that these are the objectives of the program. So it's outlined here. Length of the program. So this is a 5-day photo essay program. These are the program toolkits. So you can download all the program toolkits. So the program toolkit, workshop material, and just to highlight something else as well, that most of our activities and program models are also translated in Farsi and Arabic. So the material that's client facing, it's being translated to Arabic and Farsi, but obviously the facilitator guide is not translated into Farsi and Arabic, assuming that the facilitator who will be facilitating the activity or the program module knows English. So this is one of our program. Now if you go back, this is Municipal 101. This is more for adult refugee, focuses on it sort of provides information how the local government functions and what are the responsibility of the local government, and how newcomers and immigrants can influence decision making in the local government. So it provides the structure. Starts with how the three levels of the government function, but more it starts to focus more on municipal government and the functions of municipal government. And sort of here, the audience objectives is here too, length of the program toolkit, and workshop material. So these are our standalone program modules. So these are 5-day program modules, but you can amend them based on your audience and time that you have. We also have, if you come to our website, we also have created activities. So these are shorter versions. The activities we have created 14 activities, as you can see. They focus on different topics. Some of them focus on building the skills, the acquired knowledge about how the system functions. Some of them are more about community engagement, and some of them are more about sort of taking it to the next step, which is about like how to write a letter to your elected representative, how to how to make a deputation. But I feel like those are more advanced level for folks that want to take their active citizenship or community involvement to the next step. But as you can see, we have different activities. Awareness matters. That's one of our activities. Charter of Rights and Freedom. We have an activity about combating misinformation and disinformation. So if you click on that, very, very similar layout. What you see here is that, just gives you a little bit of background about what the activity is all about, the age, the program, language level, prior knowledge, group size, the objective of the activity, the time required, and all the materials that you need in order to facilitate this activity. We have an activity called Focus Listening, Democracy Treasure Hunt, Journey Maps, and as I mentioned, making a deputation that that requires a little bit advanced level of English. We have an activity called Skills for Community Involvement. Um, yeah, so you can access all these activities and program modules on our website. The only thing you have to do is you just have to put your name, the organization that you work, and your email address. You have to do it once, then you have access to all the material. I hope I answered your question, Alka. Do you have?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much. That's great.
Let me see if I can play a video of one of the participating agencies who facilitated our youth active citizen program. Let me see. I'm just gonna get out of here and come back to it. Share my screen. Share sound. Okay. See. Can you hear the okay, perfect. All right, let me.
Our Community Through Our Lens program is a program in partnership between us, the Talibé Multicultural Association, and the Journeys to Active Citizenship. And it's a program for the youth specifically. So what they're going to be doing is they are going to go out in the community and capture photos that they're going to be doing themselves, and then telling a story about like what they feel through these pictures. And then there's different topics that they're going to be presenting on.
My name is Caleb Kagajo. I'm from Burundi. I came to Canada in February of 2023. We had a very good experience with my team. We went outside, we had a good time taking pictures. I made some friends in the program that we talked about meeting again.
So some of the benefits of the programs are the youth are able to come together and form new friendships. They're able to also interact with each other, so practice their conversation skills. They're able to develop some leadership skills as well. And then also going into the community and learning different services that is available to them as well.
It's a very good program because it can help you with your social life. It increases your confidence in people. Something I learned today was being open with new people and knowing how to communicate with them. I think newcomers in Canada should get involved in the program because it's a way to engage in society.
I would recommend any interested communities to participate in programs such as the Journeys to Active Citizenship in order to engage newcomer youth.
Yeah, I hope that the video was helpful and give you a sense of what the Youth Active Citizenship Program looks like. But if you would like to connect and you have interest in sort of exploring more, want to learn more about our activities and program modules, you can definitely reach out to me, and we can have further conversation and discussion. I believe Kimia has, so if you're unable to attend the rest of the conference, we really appreciate if you could fill out the feedback form. It's in the chat box.
Would you add your email to the chat as well, Rustam, if you don't mind?
My email address, sure.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I just add, Rustam, because I had an opportunity to go to OCISO
Go ahead.
when,
Go ahead.
yes, for the March break program, the YAC program. And I went on the day where they were sharing their photo essay presentations, and the energy in the room was amazing. And the youth had shared with me that they like met new people and met new friends for life. And you could really see like they were just so connected. And also, I think they felt a lot of pride doing a presentation in English in a very safe space because they were all newcomers together and working on practicing their English. I feel like maybe in their schools that's a lot more nerve-wracking, but in that space it was a safe space and they appreciated just being able to present in another language and not only present what stood out for them in their communities, but what they would change about it, what they felt were some issues that they noticed in the community that they would want to take action on, and so on. And each of their presentations was quite unique. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, and um, that's it.
Yeah, I think it's as you highlight, it's a safe space for a lot of newcomers and immigrants to to explore, to express themselves. So I've had the same experience with our folks that piloted the program at Niche with Ukrainian youth. So we saw their posters, and the posters they were very expressive. Like, I would like to change this. Why there's so many buildings in my community? We need more parks, greenery. So yeah, so it was nice to see that. Mhm. I believe that 3:30 we have no. I think the next session starts at 3:15. If anyone has any other questions, please put your questions in the chat box. If you would like to have questions from me, from Sally, from Kimia, from Susanna, if you have questions about Journeys to Active Citizenship projects, or if you'd like to share something about what you do and the organization and where you focus, feel free to share that with us. Also, if you have time, please fill out the feedback form that Kimia shared in the chat box. We'd really appreciate your feedback, the insight that you provide us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
think we have 2 minutes, and then we'll be returning back to the main channel. Just, okay, I think we can go to the main channel. All right. Okay, thank you, Sally. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Kimia. Thank you, everyone, for being in this channel. Now we'll be returning back to the main channel. Thank you for your insight and for
Thank
the
you.
information, answering some of the questions. Really appreciate it. We'll be returning back to the main channel.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Everything changes. And so what we found in our research is we found an interesting statistic from the UK that really stood out, and it showed that migrants who secure legal status often become more vulnerable when transitioning from asylum accommodation into independent living. That this actually increases their risk of homelessness and destitution, both in the short and the long term. And I think that's super critical for two reasons, because one, it underscores how difficult this transition really is. Leaving government supported housing doesn't necessarily mean stability, it often means new struggles. But also, it challenges the assumption that legal status alone leads to secure housing. The reality is, as we all know, much more complex. And so this is something that's happened not just in the UK, but it's in cities worldwide. So there's just something about challenging assumptions that what we think versus what's actually happening in practice. And that revolves really understanding, like Khalid was mentioning, what's happening on the ground. What are the actual experiences? What are we missing that's not in the literature that needs to be put in there? How do we ensure that the experiences, the real life experiences, are also put into the literature so we better understand what that looks like, and then that can better shape our policies.
I was just going to add, based on what Latanya and Khalud are saying, the type of research that we're doing right now, using Nissa Homes as an organization and an example of what types of services are possible to kind of address the needs of different kind of racialized communities, for example, is very unique. So I feel like in one of the big areas that we're really trying to understand is how community funded organizations like Nissa Homes are able to operate with very little or almost no government support. So that's also a very unique element of this organization that I think it deserves to be highlighted, because it also offers possibilities for the ways that programming can be created to actually meet the needs of these, populations. So like Natanya was saying, the actual experiences of these women that we're really trying to document and analyze, we can see directly how the model of funding is supporting these needs and able to actually tailor the types of support that are needed, right? And so, like Khalud was saying, there's so many different organizations and levels and so many needs, right? And there's so many different possibilities for collaboration, but there's certain things, like she said, that need to be understood first, and that's where we're really trying to see where the needs are. So if immigration status and refugee status and having the right documentation, being able to access, government services, figuring out even language, like how to communicate, getting those skills under their belts, trying to understand, like you said, where to live, how can they access schooling, employment. There's so many areas that have to be considered. We're finding that it's very difficult. But what we're seeing, just as an example from the experiences that we've kind of been accounting for, is that the organization is able to support the needs of women in very unique and kind of tailored ways. So they're able to, make phone calls to landlords to help them navigate the system, to provide the kinds of like in-depth support that they need to even know what the landscape is, that's out there. And so I think a lot of it is just difficulty in finding what is out there, and then the complexity of bringing all these different sectors together. But I think the work of Nissa Homes, specifically in terms of the shelter, is also doing a great job in building those community connections. But the broader landscape of Islamophobia, for example, is also making those collaborations difficult. And there's so many conversations that have to be had. But Nissa also is kind of becoming a leader in kind of connections with other shelter services, for example, and being able to provide that education piece around what the needs are and what the model can look like to better support these women. So anyway, just some random thoughts that relate to these themes.
I appreciate that, and I think it's all very relevant. I'm mindful of the time. If anyone has final comments, please feel free to share with us now. And I will also just read a comment that is in the chat that relates to what you have all spoken about, and is something we can think about as we move on just outside of this conference in our different sectors. That says renovictions are becoming common practice. What supports are there for new Canadians who, or those without strong English language skills who are victims of renovictions? I imagine that they, again, to your points of intersectional experiences across housing status and language proficiency, that there's much to discuss. Khulud, do you want to go ahead?
I'll very quickly jump in because specifically when it comes to tenant protections, that's it already is very difficult to navigate. Like it's difficult to navigate for even people that are, you know, not they don't have the language challenge or they're somewhat aware of the system. We know for sure that, when you are sort of served an eviction or you like there's a certain set of rights hopefully that protect you, and they're stronger in some provinces than other. But one of the things I would say is if you have a local tenant association or like like a legal clinic or something, I would recommend definitely going through them because there is protections available for you, and there are things that landlords have a responsibility to do. What we find often in our experiences, particularly when it comes to newcomers, is they once you're served an eviction notice, you're in fear because you're going to lose your housing urgently, and unless you know that there could be a way to get some justice around it, or get some sort of like rights around it, your immediate response is okay, like now I have to pack up and find a new place. So it's like these kind of things that like I feel like when resettlement programs, I think they're trying their absolute best. They're also underfunded in what they're able to do, but I just feel like there's so much sort of information around how to access your rights and how to access your justice that often is not a part of resettlement programming. And it's so critical to have that, because that's sort of what leads people to be stuck. Like it's the same for people that are in violent situations trying to leave. Oftentimes it's just not knowing like what's available to you. So like if that's something that I feel like is one of the areas where housing services and resettlement services can bridge a little bit and kind of like do some programming and education specifically around like leases, tenancy rights, protections, access to justice, legal supports that you can access, so on and so forth. But renovictions in itself are larger systemic problems that need policy solutions, and that's a whole different topic.
Certainly, and you've touched on a theme that has come up throughout the day of the power of education and information in regards to doing advocacy work, but also in regards to knowing about and protecting your own rights, regardless of your status. I really appreciate you all for coming and sharing your research. And we will share your slides and any links that you have included in your slideshow. Please send them to me as an email, and I can send those out to registrants as well. Your call out for research, was it research participants or research proposals? I forget, sorry. But
it's the human rights. It's the human rights stuff. I can send it as a follow-up.
Awesome. Perfect. And yes, thank you all. Thank you to the participants and the audience. I want to note, again, I've mentioned this throughout the day, but we ask that you fill out the questionnaire, the feedback form, only once. If you attended any sessions, even if you attended more, only fill out the feedback form once. I have put it in the chat now. We will take just 2-minute break if you need to grab something to drink, and we will get set up with our next speaker, Connie Paul. Thank you all, and thank you, Connie, for being here. I'm going to spotlight you now, but we'll just give folks 2 minutes to gather themselves.
Thank you so much, folks.
And I know we've had breakout rooms throughout the day. Today, this session is all in the main room, so there is no breakout room for this session. Okay. I don't know if that was 2 minutes. It felt like a long time. Connie, would you like to begin?
Achka, Sam. Sam, Achka, Sam, CI. I see my name up there and it says Connie Paul, but that's actually not my real name. That's like what we'd identify as our colonial name. I actually have 3 Indigenous names, and it really depends what part of BC I'm actually standing on would determine which name that I would use. I carry a name from my great-grandmother's grandmother on my mother's side. We're matrilineal, so her name was Yetta, and I carry that name. My great-grandmother gave me that name. I have a second name through my great-grandfather's mother's name, Lathithuit. So if I'm in our longhouse setting or any of our traditional ceremonies, I use the name Lathithuit. I worked as an outpost nurse for about 18 and a half years in a small, a large First Nation community that had 4 communities, and that was for the Nishka. And they gifted me the name Hanachim Zemlistens. So when I go back and visit all those elders and families, that's the name that I use when I'm standing in their territory. Really want to thank you for providing me the opportunity to share some of the work and that our nation does. I'm presently work for the Shinaimach, and I work and play on Shinaimach territory here in British Columbia, Vancouver Island, and Nanaimo. I work as one of the managers in a small clinic. I think it's small, relatively speaking. We have like 2 doctors, home care nurses, community health nurses, mental health workers. We have a traditional medicine man that provides care for our people. One of the things that we do when we open a meeting, we always open, I'm not sure if the right word would be a blessing, but we open it, we say that the song or the chant would clear the floor. So in a staff meeting, we do that so that it brings in good energy, good aishwaya, So I will open this here space, between myself and anyone who's listening, for good medicine. Ooh. Thank you, Creator. Thank you for bringing each person here today to this sacred circle. Please, Creator, watch over all of our elders and our children. Those are my fallen brothers and sisters, those that are vulnerable. Shed light onto their path and bring them home to our people, Creator, and let them know that they are loved, they are needed, and they are wanted, Creator. Watch over across the water, Creator, there is unrest. Please protect children in the world. protect their elders, protect their vulnerable. Please take care of them. Please watch over them. We're mindful that there is war in this world, and it's just sad. And I just want to send good, positive energy out to those that are suffering. Lift them up, Creator, and watch over them. Asiyam, Asiyam, Ashkasiyam, Siyam. Thank you. We open our staff meetings with that kind of blessing each time we meet. And it's really to be mindful of the work that we're doing and the care that we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you for starting us off that way. I would like to return and have you and maybe discuss or make some connections across themes when you were speaking to your different names and how your name is connected to the land that you are occupying. I think that that is a true story for many migrants, immigrants, and refugees as well, and diasporic communities where our names change depending on the land that we are occupying. So I think that connection across Indigenous experiences and immigrant, migrant, and refugees experience is something we can highlight and celebrate. So if you wanted to say more to that or tell me other connections that you have encountered in your work and life.
Thank you. I think first to understand that, colonization and the Indian residential school, our language was denied, our language and our culture and our identity. So, in the turn of the century, children were removed from their parents, at the age of 4 and 5, and they were brought to Indian residential schools, and they lost their language at that time because it was forbidden to speak their language. It was forbidden to wear their traditional clothing. It was forbidden to practice any ceremony whatsoever. And so that was definitely entrenched within the Indian Act, as government, federal government legislation. And of course, what are you going to name somebody if they only have an Indigenous name? So you'll see my name is Paul. You will find a lot of the people in Vancouver Island. You'll see a lot of Toms, a lot of Peters, a lot of Johns. You will find names, first names for last names, because they didn't give European last names for our last names. So we've got a lot of first names. That's what happened when the Indian agent came to Vancouver Island, and that's where you see a lot of first names for last names. But that didn't stop us keeping our own names. We just never used them in mainstream. And I think, because our culture was outlawed, we kept that really private within family and within culture. And I think that's still, that's some young people. I have some first cousins that have actually given up their colonial name and taken on their Indigenous name. So I think there's a shift over time, where you're seeing more of our people saying, this is my Indian name and this is who I am. And so, I think you'll find some will introduce themselves as with their First Nations name, and some will use their colonial name, and I think there's a rebirth even when it comes to how we identify ourselves. We have ceremonies on the west, the West Coast here, Longhouse. So they're dirt floors, 2 fires, and it's, when you call my name, you would never call Connie Paul. You would only call my name Thalthithuit. Thalthithuit translate means a woman with many blankets. My name on the interior, my great-grandmother. So in the summers when my parents went to work in the fields, I was brought to my great-grandmother. She would take care of me for 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks in the summer. I'd be with my great-grandmother. And I guess when I was with her she was talking about her grandmother's Indian name. And so those names are given, like when I changed my life, she gave me that name, Yetta. And then we had a dinner, and my uncles came and they talked to me about what the name means. So the name kind of means wings of hummingbird is probably the literal translation, but it's more than that. It's about the way moves so fast you can't see it, sort of. That's really, and the same name can be used for a birch leaf in the wind. You know, when it's green on one side and silver on the other, and when the wind moves the leaves so quickly, the whole tree changes. And my grandma said, that's also your name. So it's about movement, that name. Anakam Zimlissim's, it's a gifted name. So that name, the elders, there was four, the Nishka have four chiefs, Samagats, and four Sigamanats per village. So you'd have a wolf chief, a killer whale chief, you have a frog chief, and you'd have one more, wolf, killer whale, frog. I know there's other, sorry, can't remember the last tribe that they had. Anyways, the four chiefs and their matriarchs stood up and said, we'd like to gift you with your name. And that was when I was leaving after working for the nation for about 18.5 years. They said, please, we'd like to give you a name. And that name means somebody who cares for people in the Nass River, right? Woman of the Nass, right? So that's where the names come. Most names have a history. You know, our families covet those names. You know, we give them to family members. You know, and so that's the work that we kind of do in community, is we try to be a part of, right?
And you're highlighting something that we strive for within the Journeys to Active Citizenship with the communities that we live in, but also outside of our own circles, right? And I would love to hear more about the work that you've done in the community, specifically with the healthcare services that you have provided, and just locate yourself in that work for our audience as well, and how you've engaged community members to take up their advocacy, like sort of self-advocacy work as well.
Yes, I think the community requires exactly that, community to come together to create change. And community, you know, I've had family doctors that have come to work and do resident doctors, and they say, they use the term family doctor. And I went, it's interesting, in Western medicine, a family doctor, you go in and you see the doctor. But for us, family doctors, you go in the home and every single person in that home is your client. And it's not just the client, physical person, but it's also environmental. Like if you see mold, then we need to look at housing and how the environment impacts that person. Or if that person's had a stroke and it's all gravel outside and they need a walkway for their walker or their wheelchair. It's about, do they have food security? Who cares for them? They have pets. I've had elders, who lost the ability to care for their pet. We don't want them to lose their pet. We need to try to find a solution to keep their dog and their cat with them. We have many families living per home, so overcrowding is a natural kind of, it just is. I've been working 36 years as a community health nurse in community, and overcrowding is something that you live with as a nurse, and it's something that you work into your care, that it's not an individual you're caring for, it's the house, it's the environment, it's the family, and it's everything that lives and breathes in that home that you care for. So as when they called allied support workers, if an elder needs a rail, then it's like I need the construction department to put in a rail, handrail. If someone's new in a wheelchair and their doors are built too narrow and they've got a wheelchair and they need to get through, you're gonna have to find ways, find dollars to have that door widened. So you'll end up sitting at tables to create change that if you're going to build a home, build it for 15 to 20 years from now, build it with the capacity that what are the risks of diabetes? What are the risks of requiring a modified home to meet the needs of the client? So you'll sit at housing. You'll sit at several different kinds of tables. As a manager in our organization, that advocacy, we have a homeless project operated out of our health center that have 2 workers that work in downtown Nanaimo area. The homeless, so that project and lending itself to being a part of how do we create voice for those that are, we have like 2,000 First Nations and about 700 offers on reserve. So 1,300 are off reserve. How are they housed? When we look at the housing, issues for Nanaimo, we're 33% of the homeless population. So what are the factors you need? You're going to need something like, how do they get to treatment? And so if the treatment is like treatment beds like Clearview, could take up to a week to 2 weeks to get in. Client readiness is at this moment, not in 2 weeks from now. You might lose the opportunity to get them into treatment. So you need to find ways to advocate at more of a municipal level to saying we need more beds for our community members that are suffering with addictions. From there, you need more transitional housing. You work with the city, you work with the First Nations Health Authority, you work with the provincial government, BC housing strategies. And, we're really fortunate here that our nation, has a chief that's really advocates for housing for our people, for those that are most marginalized. So I know they signed an agreement in 2021 with the federal government, and that that now there's housing that's going to slowly come on stream, and it's over 10 years, so it's not a quick solution. It's not like it's you get an agreement a year ago and your housing solutions will be answered. We had I think there's 12 transitional units that we built in the last year. They're full to capacity all the time. We had some, housing for young moms, fourplexes that accommodate young families. There's some off-reserve housing that needs to be built on Nickel Street. It's just what are they doing in the interim? Macola housing, it's like a 2 to 3 year waiting list to get into the Indigenous housing, so it's hard for our young families. There are advocacy groups that work with them, workers that work, in, some of our staff. You have to also have like anyone that has, if there's a risk of losing children, then you need an advocate to understand the language, from, child welfare system. Even our people have, they need someone to explain the bureaucracy to them and what's required of them to keep their children. We have a pediatrician that comes here once per month. We've thrown in our hat or our cap in with First Nations Health Authority to be a hub, a Shenemo hub, which means that we will get some dollars through First Nations Health Authority to provide allied health support, like an OT or a physiotherapist and a dietitian. And those aren't services that we normally see offered. And, those are new physician services. We're just in our community. And when I say just, we are just signing an agreement for, 2 FTE, 2 full-time doctors to work in our community. Never happened before, never in the history. So that's new for us. And we have doctors now, we're working, with the Minister of Health to get a contract put in place, so, how do you support that? You need electronic medical records, you're going to need an examination room, you're going to need capacity to provide that care. So it's been a journey for our nation. We've been asking for many years. And it's around trying to pull all your resources from different places to build. So I think, given where we were 36 years ago, and I think you need to celebrate the successes. You have to be able to recognize that. 36 years ago, there was no such thing as palliative care on reserve. If you want a palliative care, you need to move off reserve before the province would come on reserve because of jurisdiction issues. And that's, that changed with the tripartite agreement. So that's like the 104 chiefs in British Columbia, and the government created agreement that provincial health services could come on reserve. And you think that was a long time ago. That was like 2009. It's not that long ago. So services have really changed for First Nations. It's getting better slowly, but you need to find out, what table do I need to sit at to create that change? That we represented 33% of the homeless. When I asked our workers, do we represent 33% of the homeless when they're out there delivering a hot meal once a week? They meant, no, we represent a higher number than that. Well, how do I find that data? So it's called the PIT count, and the point in time count that's done across Canada. And so our nation asked, can we find, and do they count the homeless on? They did this year. And it takes time. You sit down with individuals and say, we want to find out how many, not only on reserve, but off reserve, are there homeless. So it takes years of commitment to do community development. We partner with the university. Dental was an area. So if anyone knows what happened to our people in the Indian residential schools, a lot of them, including my mom and my dad at age 11, without an anesthetic, brought him in a room, buckled him up, pulled the chair back, and pulled all his teeth out without an anesthetic. And so, a lot of our people are afraid of the healthcare system, or don't trust the healthcare system. They don't trust the dental system. And so when you have that historical treatment, then we need to build trust. And when they see that it's operated by their own people, then they're like, yes, but you've been trained Western thinking. And then you need to find a way to work with those to build that trust. Yes, I am trained Western in terms of Western medicine, but I'm still Hmong first. I want to see services for our people that are specific to our needs. So dental was an area. And then we worked with the university to look at that question. What is the consequences when all of my parents and all of our elders had all their teeth pulled without consideration? And what is that? What did they end up teaching their children? And that's that piece around intergenerational trauma that's happened. And so how do we change that? How do we change that narrative? People can say, yes, they all have free dental care. But if you've been raised in a home that teaches you never to trust Western medicine or Western doctors or dentists, they're not going to participate. So you have to build that trust in the community. And that's really some of the work that I've done over the years, is try to build that trust with our people, that we can be self-determined in our care. And, and for us, we created something called the One Canoe Model of Care. And that's in relation to that. We're a coastal people. We traveled using the canoe, the dugout canoe all the time. And so I remember sitting with some of the real elders here that would, canoe paddled up and down the coast here. And I said, what are the teachings around canoe pulling? And, they said, well, you have the skipper, and the skipper chooses the direction. And the skipper looks at who's in the canoe and determines how fast or how quick and what direction. And they use song. And he said, not so much Hualawan in the canoe, one mind, one heart, one spirit. And when the elder told me that, I went, that is our model of care. And the client is the skipper. And all the allied support, people that are in the canoe, we must become Natsamat. We must become one in order to help the client. So that became our model of care, and it's really, it fits into self-determination, self-actualization, free will, and autonomy, personal autonomy of the client. And it also speaks to who we are as Hmong people. We're saltwater people.
I appreciate that. And you spoke to a lot of I want to sort of go back to some of the things that you had mentioned and try to make connections with the topics that we've looked at and discussed throughout the day. Specifically, I know you saw at least the tail end of the panel on housing and parallels or intersections of inaccess to affordable or adequate housing in migrant and particularly refugee communities, as well as Indigenous communities, as you're speaking to. And that piece that you spoke of in terms of statistics and the research gathered and people that don't count. We had a speaker named Gabriel who was a temporary foreign migrant worker speaking to that experience of sort of not being counted into the landscape of Canada. And I just wonder, from your perspective, how we see similar trends and how do we generate solidarity across communities while confronting, a systemic, it's not just systemic racism, but like the state itself.
Yeah, I mean, in health, we have a study that was done called the In Plain Sight Report, and that speaks to systemic racism in the healthcare system. Racism is real. We can't change what we're not willing to acknowledge. So, those that are sitting in positions of influence, truth and reconciliation tables. I sit at the Truth and Reconciliation table at the Division of Family Practice. I sit at the Truth and Reconciliation table at the University on Curriculum Development. So, those are, what is the saying? Leaders will not sit under the trees of the seeds that they planted. And I think many of the speakers, the one young lady, she's spreading seeds, and those seeds need to be because I know it takes many years to see some of the fruit of all that hard labor. How do you navigate a healthcare system, provincial and federal, and how do you get to those tables? We work with our partners, the nonprofit organizations, and sit at the same tables, and it's my role, it's Marina's role, it's the workers here to create voice for our people. I remember sitting at a table, one of the very first ones I sat at through, and I said, healthcare was segregated for our people. And they said, well, what is it that you feel you can offer this group? And I said, well, I can certainly speak to the Nanaimo Indian Hospital. It was a segregated healthcare system. And I had a doctor, a very, very senior doctor at the hospital, say to me, because this here hospital was right next to VIU here on Vancouver Island. And he said, if there was a segregated healthcare system, my mother has got her master's in social work, and I'm sure she would have talked about it. And I went, well, I'm really sorry, but I don't think your mother knows everything, because there was a segregated healthcare system. Kukalitsa Hospital, Miller Bay Hospital, and a Nanaimo Indian Hospital. It was a segregated hospital. We weren't allowed to go to the white hospital. And I said, it's called the Nanaimo Indian Hospital. You can Google it. And I said, but what you probably don't know is that when people died there, they were never sent home. They were sent, buried in Shenema. So I said, we just want the truth so that when you're working with clients, you'll understand the lack of trust that we have for the healthcare system. It's historically embedded in our oral history, but it's not in your textbooks, obviously, because you're a doctor and your mother has her master's degree in social work, and she didn't know about it. And that's tragic. And we need to change that. We need to ensure that our history is told. We need to ensure that it is told at universities. That, I had one time an instructor told a student, an Indigenous student, there's no such thing as intergenerational trauma. And the student was an Indigenous student, told me this. And I'm like, okay, the next time I'm sitting at curriculum development at the university, I'm going to speak to that issue, that intergenerational trauma is real. And the dean of the department said, no, that couldn't have been any of our instructors. And I went, yes, it is. And I just want to make sure we go on record that we want that changed. And I want to be a partner to that. I want to work with you to ensure that our stories are told. How can we partner to ensure that those stories are told? So taking something that's negative and making it into a positive is really important to do that. People don't learn with shame or guilt. So how do we collaborate, creating change so that we both can save our face, and have a way of healing together. And I said, because I have enough broken family. I will be the first person to stand up and say, family violence, sexual abuse, child neglect, poverty, a runaway girl. I am that person. That is my story. And so, for me, it's about, people think truth and reconciliation is about forgiving the government. I beg to differ, because for me, truth and reconciliation was really about forgiving my parents and my grandparents and my grandfather, my uncles, my aunties, for what they did and what they stood by and did not do. And once I healed that part, then I was able to say, that's the part for our people. We need to heal first. And if we can heal, then we can look and get into a canoe and invite others to paddle with us. And that, and so many of our elders are paddling alone because they've been broken. And they've been broken because you can see it in their choices of how they live their life. The addictions, the homelessness, the isolation from their family. And we're just trying to bring all of our people home. We want them home. That's the work that has to happen. It's, when you're working with the staff to support them in their journey. Those that have, I cannot imagine those that are from a country where there is trauma, where they have been hurt, by the country that they came from, because I have been hurt and I know how long it's taken to heal that traumatized child. Those services are so important, so that when you're creating change, it comes from a place of caring and not from a place of brokenness. That's just my feelings now that I'm older, that I look back at the fiery young person I was, and it was like, it's got to be done this way, it's got to be done this way. You couldn't move anything. And it's really about trying to find that narrative, find yourself, heal thy person first. You're your first client. So for me, I healed that person, and then I was able to advocate in a good way. That's been my experience 36 years later.
Sorry, my internet has been unstable, so I may have missed. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, apologies for that. I missed the last bit of what you were saying, but something that stood out to me that you said was that coming from a place of healing, I guess, is what I understood. And sort of prioritizing that. And I wonder, and I asked this to previous panelists in a different format, I guess, a different context, but what does that look like while you're also navigating things like access to funding for services or access to like literal space where we provide services to communities or quote unquote clients, or how do we do the work of advocacy and the work of healing and support that together?
For me, it's always been, health is not just the doctor and the nurse and the OT and the physiotherapist and the pharmacist. Health is about spiritual health, like identity. It's important to continue to practice your culture. And so that's huge for us. And for us, a lot of that is a rebirth of culture or a revitalization, so practicing that, coming together and practicing your culture. Don't lose your language, because your language is what gives you the poetry of who you are as a people, when you speak your own language. So that healing circle, they call it a healing circle, and that's that spiritual, emotional, physical, and environmental. So for us, environment is a part of our healthcare system. So housing and affordable housing and poverty and education, they're all part of health. So we have under one roof all of that. So ours wouldn't be just a doctor's clinic. It's all of that under one roof. So it's, I sit at an advocacy table on housing, on homelessness, here in Nanaimo. I'm a small piece, one little tiny spoke, on running a homeless project where we go out and provide hot meals, tents, clothing, shelter, jackets. But it's not just for the Indigenous. I mean, we help anyone, when we're out there providing care, to our brothers and sisters that are struggling with addictions. It's about, do they need a doctor or a prescription, or is there any kind of readiness for them to go to treatment? Accepting people where they're at and not coming with expectations of what you want them to be. So, when the client is ready and wants to create change, then we do what we can to give them a pathway to saying these is who we can connect with. We have an employment department, for employment and an opportunity, for someone who hasn't worked. Yeah. And then if it's physician services, or if it's a pediatrician, or if it's psychiatry, we have that avenue. If it's counselor, for trauma and addiction. We have mental health workers, so we try. If we also have on our staff a traditional Indian medicine man, they are just as important as as the family doctor. Our traditional knowledge keeper keeps our spirituality alive. So we would say he would be able to brush you off. Now, in English, brushing somebody off is to ignore them, but in our language, to be brushed off is using either a feather or cedar boughs and song and a way to remove negative energy. So we use our own traditional ways of being. Never forget that wherever you came from. Celebrate that part and keep it alive in your family. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think we see within the settlement sector too, how organizations will will be around like specific to particular communities, right? Whether that's ethnic, racial, or religious, or based on gender, etc. So I think that point sort of crosses over to that approach within the settlement sector as well. I want to invite anyone to post questions in the chat or raise your hand if you have anything to add or ask. But I also, while we allow people the time to do that, I want to ask you to sort of, I guess I think about a lot from my own positionality, and when we think about teachings and learnings, and you talked about the planting of seeds with the research that's being done, right? And bringing an Indigenous knowledge or approach to healing or understanding into non-Indigenous spaces. How do we do that respectfully and in a way that's mutually beneficial, or in a way that's dedicated to mutual care?
I think it's reaching out. I'm to working with partners, and the teachings that belong in a family is up to them, to that individual person, what they're willing to share. So, I always share the one story. It's a very quick story. It was with my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother lived in the Okanagan. She tanned hides for a living. She didn't like money. If you wanted any of her tanned work, like gloves or jacket or leggings, you would have to trade with her for what she wanted for that work. She would tan anything from buckskin, moose, bear, you name it. She would tan it, traditionally tan outside. Anyways, my great-grandmother was walking up a path, and she bent down and she picked up a rock. And I have rocks for this very reason. And she takes that rock and she puts it in my hand and she said, "I am the rock." And she said, "Why, meaning you say it." And I was 5 years old, and I'm like, "You want me to say that, Grandma?" And she says, "Yeah, wait." And I said, I'm the rock." And she goes, "Yeah, oh, here, you have to believe it, here, I am the rock." Now, when I am the rock, and so then we walk further down that path that morning, and she picks up a blade of grass, and she turns to me and she hands me that blade of grass, and she said, "I am the blade of grass. Wait." And I said, "I'm the blade of grass." And she kind of went, "Okay." And we walked further down, and of course, this was on the Okanagan Reserve, and there's lots of pine trees there, and there's this massive pine cone. It was huge, it was as big as my face. I was 5, so I just remember being humongous. She handed me that pine cone. She said, "I am the pine cone." And I'm looking at this massive pine cone. I am the pine cone. And of course, when you're 5 years old, you very quickly love the idea, like, I can be anything around me. I am everything. I am the land. And so you become the bark, you become the beetle, you become the butterfly. And that afternoon, there was this little tiny stream called Pony Stream, and they're all called Pony Stream. Anyways, I said to my grandma, I said, Grandma, can I be the water? Go ahead. And I ran and I lied, and it was a little creek, and it was about 18 inches wide and three inches deep. And I remember throwing the water up and looking at my great grandmother saying, I am the water, I am the water. And she goes, yeah, you're the water, all right, you're the water. And so, that was a teaching of hers that she gave me when I was 5. And I've never forgotten it, and she said, you must always remember that you never running on top of the land if you are the land. Take care of yourself, have some self-respect. And so that was her teaching. And, that night I remember the first star, and I went, Grandma, I am the star, I am the star. She goes, no, you can't be the star. I said, I can't be the star? No, you can't be. I said, how come I can't be the star? She said, the star is for the ancestors. One day my body will return back to the land, and I am the land once again. I become one with the land. But in here, my spirit, my soul, my Siyada, my song becomes one of the stars. And so in your darkness, if you're ever alone and you feel you're truly, truly alone, in that darkness, you look up, and I am there, and you are never alone. I will always be with you. That's a teaching. Never forget your teachings. And there will be elders out there that will share really good teachings. And for me, when I'm walking and hiking, and I've done a lot of backpacking in my life and camping out on the land, I always remember what you said. I am the cedar. I am the sea. I am the rocks. I am the clam. I am everything. And there is no such concept as an individual amongst our people. You're part of everything. And the sooner we learn that, the healthier we will take care of who we are as one people. I leave that with you.
Yeah, I thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I think it will resonate with a lot of our audience members and sector as we think about also the many stories that have been told throughout the day. I want to thank you for joining us today, but and also a final note from you on sort of, I mean, I guess that was, I should have just left it there. That was a beautiful ending, but I guess just one last comment or maybe request or what, like, how do we bridge these gaps between communities, I guess? Is it through that storytelling, or are there other mechanisms that we can also engage in?
Attend some of our gatherings and reach out, because I think our struggles are really the same struggle. I don't know how many times I've said I'm First Nations, but I'm treated as an immigrant in my own country. I'm treated as a foreigner, and so, I'm not treated equal. I don't have equal access to healthcare. Handy Dart won't come on a reserve, by the way. Handy Dart is, medical facility, medical vehicle to come and pick up people and bring them to dialysis. They don't come on reserve. So people think healthcare is equal for us. It's not. It's a struggle, and it's a fight to get equality, and so that's we have many of the same goals. We want the same rights to education. We want our children to go to university. We want housing. We want electricity. Our nation just got running water, by the way, five years ago. And in Iowa, everyone else has had running water. So yeah, let's partner, because I see a lot of similarities when you're talking, that we have the same struggle. And it's there. And I think you need to find those political that there are non-for-profit organizations that sit at some of these senior positions here in Nanaimo. That's like United Way, and so the government will choose an organization to be the distributing organization. Well, you need to start working on their nonprofit organization and become a part of their committee to find out how do you get voice for your people, because that's what we did. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. I just want to read two comments from the chat. Paloma says, this was very incredible. Thank you so much for this. This was wonderful, insightful, and healing. And Elka writes, that was just an amazing and powerful story and teaching. Thank you so much. And I would also like to echo those sentiments. And again, thank you for joining us and sharing your knowledge and stories with us.
Oh, Salish, for a personal thank you, it's like this. And when you want to thank your family, it's this. But when you want to thank the people, it's like this. So that's how we say thank you. Echkasiyan.
That's such an incredible presentation to follow with not so incredible closing remarks, but it's been a wonderful day. So many great sessions, so much insight shared throughout the day, a lot of connections made across topics and themes and organizations. As we noted throughout the day, everything has been recorded and will be shared and posted, including the transcripts of all the presentations and the French translations of the main room presentations. We will also collect and share any PowerPoint slides and links to resources that panelists and presenters have shared throughout the day. I also want to, again, just encourage all participants and audience members to check out the Journeys to Active Citizenship website. You will find the activities and curriculum that have been developed over the past 5 years there that can be used by facilitators to foster a sense of community, belonging, and encourage civic engagement. Those activities include handouts, activity books, specific instructions, and slideshows for users to make, for facilitators to make use of. You can also find previous webinars and material that we've created on the Journeys to Active Citizenship website. I will post that in the chat, but before I do that, I will bother you one last time in asking you to please fill out the survey so we can get folks' reactions and comments from today's conference. Only fill it out once, even if you attended more than one session. I will post the link in the chat again. It's available in English and French, and I will share with you the Journeys to Active Citizenship website in the chat as well. I will stay with you online while you fill out that form, and otherwise, a big thank you to everyone who came and shared the day with us and participated. And yes, thank you so much. All right, if you have completed the survey, feel free to leave. Interpreters, if you don't need anything else from me, first of all, thank you so much for all of your work. And you're also able to leave now too, unless you need anything else from the Jack team. Paul and Russell, I'm just removing people.
Sure. I just ended the recording.
Great, thank you. All right.
Way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, Tanya, well done. Honestly, that really went so smoothly.
Yeah, it was great.
Like, yeah, everything was just flowing so well. The speakers are great. Such a great diverse set of perspectives. Like, great turnout too. Like those numbers were awesome. People were really engaging in the chat. Like, I think that was just